Hey Metafam, Piwizo here. Welcome to the channel. Just want to give a very warm welcome to our special guest on the channel, Mike Waddell, CEO and founder of Metazoo. How are you doing today, Mike?
Not bad. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome. Can't think of a better way to spend well, I guess it's a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, it is.
Excellent. Right, getting right into the weekend.
Yep,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
What is the weekend exactly?
That is kind of true, actually. Well, for me, I guess it's 2 days that I'm off. I guess for you, it's a little bit different, right? Because you're working every day.
Yeah, but for me, it's the days where people take things off, and I have to wait until Monday before they get back to the office. But yeah,
Hmm.
no, for me, it's pretty much nonstop.
That's true, man. Well, you do have a lot of things going on. Oh man, I saw the lineup for this year. It's gonna be a busy year, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's like there aren't enough weeks in the year to do all the things that we want. So we have to be discerning and organized, and it's hard to do all that, but it's so worth it when it goes well.
Oh, 100%. And I am glad that you do take some time off. I think so on your like personal Waddell Instagram that you
Hmm.
put up, like I think you went to like Mount Rushmore, and then I think like last week there was like a photo of like um
In
you and
Miami.
field, yeah, at the on a yacht or on like a speedboat or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It was, I call them workcations because
Mhm.
it's I'm on vacation, but I'm working. But I love doing that because I'd rather, sometimes for a lot of people, taking vacation is a way of escaping work. For me, it's a way of doing work in a more entertaining climate or context. But I love working on this stuff even in my free time.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I see like I think you went with like Andy and you went with a few of the artists just on the
Hmm.
trip. So I guess you guys can talk shop there as well, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
Excellent. Are you generally like a big traveling person? Are you a traveling man?
No, not really. Kind of a homebody, but I'm trying to travel a bit more, if only to switch things up creatively and not burn out, which is something that can happen if you stay in the same place for months on end and you're doing nothing but work. And routine is really important, but routine is also kind of the death of sanity if you do it for long enough.
100%. I remember like in some of your MetaZoo hours, you're like, oh man, you like I haven't been out of the house for 7 days. I'm just like, what's this guy doing?
Which is not, don't do what I do. And if you're looking to work hard on something, there are healthier ways of doing it. But yeah, no, sometimes I definitely blink and the week is over and I'm like, oh, I haven't been outside in a few days and I should probably go catch some sunlight.
Okay, well that's good to know. It's not by design. It's just I guess like the blinders that you have. You're just so focused on something and just
Yeah,
time just
yeah,
flies.
exactly.
Nice. So I guess if you don't travel too much, but I know like growing up, in previous interview, you said that you grew up in Brazil, and I guess do you go much international trips? I know you travel around the US a lot.
You know, I can't I don't know the last time I went international. I think it may have been maybe like 2019, I want to say. So before COVID.
Hmm.
In fact, like I need to get my passport stuff squared away for things like international conventions.
Oh, 100%. Well, that's a good segue into, I guess we're going to primarily be talking today regarding just I guess the international aspects of MetaZoo, like where MetaZoo is going internationally, talking about some Yokai Island, Grimm's Kingdom. If you're okay with that.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome, awesome. And I guess that goes into the first topic about conventions. So last year in April, I believe like just it was the only MetaZoo staff that went was Texas Ted to La Convention TCG in Paris, France. I thought that was pretty
Mhm.
cool. But is there any like foreseeable future plans of going internationally, even to I guess Canada would be considered international in the works?
Yes, absolutely. We want to get kind of the cadence down for what the towers look like, which conventions we go to here in the US that are both like TCG related, Comic Con related, and then cryptid related. And then like once we kind of get that down and understand it, we'll look outwards, probably starting in 2024, towards actually having a stronger presence internationally at these conventions.
Perfect. Yeah, and I to be honest, I thought that was the direction you guys were going to because I believe Yokai Island comes out fall of next year, so that'd be like 2024, right? And then
I believe it's summer of 2024.
summer of 2024. Okay, I'll write that down later. I always thought that summer was for seven seas, and I actually thought that when you went to Miami and that boat picture, like you guys were doing some type of like reconnaissance for like
Yeah, there
the
you
yacht
go.
part reliefs party or something like that.
Yeah, no, definitely reconnaissance. It was we had to study it for a few days, but we got to the bottom of it.
Excellent. Somebody's got to take one for the team, right?
It's a sword I'm happy to fall on for the team.
Only we had these type of swords to all fall on. Yeah, it's been a while since I traveled as well. It's just, yeah, just just traveling is just really expensive nowadays. Now that everything's open again, it's just like, oof, those prices and just like prices of everything overall, right? Oh man.
Yeah, and it's time consuming. I mean, and then you have to get back into routine, and then it's definitely it takes a chunk um out of your month if you decide to go even for a few days.
Oh yeah, 100%. And just getting, like you said, getting back into routine takes a bit longer than the actual length of the trip. So,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
and I guess also so convention aside, so I do remember there were some like international promos that are out there, and I do know like for the water tower, a lot of people like brought Manaya. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, like the New Zealand promo, and then there's like
Right, right.
drop bear for Australia. I know like those came out a little while ago, but is there like an official word on how it's more accessible to get some of those promo? I'm in Canada, and I've looked at a few else LGSs that have Metazoo, and it's just a little bit difficult to obtain.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of if you're a local game store in that area and you want access to that promo, that's how we're incentivizing, um, taking on MetaZoo as a TCG that you hold in your store. Um, and that kind of the unfortunate thing is if that's there are going to be some promos that are less accessible to people in certain areas of the world and more accessible to others, and that's just kind of the part of the game, if you're in Germany, it's really difficult to get something that's easily accessible at Walmart here in the US. And so we try and balance those things, but if we made everything equally accessible, then uh certain incentives wouldn't be there. And so it's definitely a balancing game.
Oh yeah, 100%. No, that makes sense. It and especially with MetaZoo, right? It's a collectible, so there is that aspect where, to be honest, sometimes it's might be actually a good thing that it makes it a little bit more scarce and more collectible to people that do want to collect it.
Yeah, and it's a useful card. It's a collectible card. You kind of have to go through a process of getting it. Um, that's the game, though, right? That's collectibles. That's the industry.
Yeah, 100%. And wow, I'm saying 100% a lot. So I'm just gonna stop doing that a lot. I'll just say I agree. And speaking of, I guess just international next set, that's gonna be Yokai Island. Are there any recent developments that like you guys are willing to share a little bit with all the Metazoo fans out there?
We're so it sounds silly, but um, it's Yokai Island's basically a year and a half of sets in the future.
Mm.
So, we're very much focused day to day on native, and then, we've already started work on war. But what I'm really interested in doing between now and the summer, obviously, is securing distribution in those areas of the world and making it so that when we do launch Yokai Island, which is very specific to that region, it's going to be accessible in Japanese as our first second language.
Oh, that's really good to hear. I actually thought that Spanish was going to be the second language for MetaZoo when I think it was Andy that posted that announcement with like the Mexican president saying that there was a new cryptid. I was like, oh man, I got to brush up on my Spanish now.
I mean, from a numbers perspective, right? Spanish would make sense, Mandarin would make sense, but from a progression of sets perspective, um, expanding in Japan in that area is something that's very, very soon on the horizon. So that's what we'll be focusing on.
Was there any like research going into it, just saying like Japan is more, I guess, acce- acceptable of TCGs in general? There's like a lot of like different anime TCGs and other TCGs that actually stem from Japan. I guess was that one of the considerations that maybe
Oh,
Japan would
sure. I
be?
mean, you know, they are very understanding of cryptids, even though they call them yokai over there. Culturally, they serve the same function, but also just from a gaming perspective, Japan has they're much more welcoming to other IPs entering into that market, right? There's
Mhm.
not this weird stigma of there's the big three and that's all that there can be that you have here in the West,
Right.
which is refreshing to see, right? There's less toxicity associated with new IPs expanding in that region.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. And so I guess yokai being the main term for like Japanese cryptids, uh, do you think that the Yokai Island, I guess just the block, not just like the main set, it's kind of like Cryptid Nation was this main set for the block, right? But then there was like Wilderness, there's
Right,
Nightfall,
right, right.
yes. So is Mezu thinking of maybe expanding to like other Asian country cryptids, like for China, like India, Korean cryptids of that sort, or is it mainly going to be focused on yokai?
I think for the transition set between Yokai and Grimm's Kingdom, you're going to see some cryptids through that transit. You know that well, if you look at the Trans-Siberian Railway and which countries it goes through,
Mhm.
um, we'll be kind of taking from those. But for major regions, we're going to leave those to set specifics in Cryptid World, which will be our fourth block.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We'll get into that later. I'm trying to go chronological a little
No, no,
bit,
yeah,
but then yeah, but like you said, like cryptids are all over the world, right? And then it's like you never know which which part you're gonna end up at.
exactly.
Yeah. And then I guess a little bit that I'm kind of curious about is I guess Craig Takiguchi. I don't know if I know that he was on the board that was announced like I think like last January or something like that. So is there perhaps some additional collaboration maybe with Sanrio in that sense?
Maybe, maybe.
Perhaps. All right. Well, we'll keep it on the download then. Oh, I'm really excited. Like, if there's going to be any kind of like additional video games, I guess for um, Metazoo. I guess there's like the what's it called Super Smash Brothers type for the arcade.
Yeah, the arcade.
Yeah, and then I'm wondering if there's going to be some kind of like RPG maybe for Yokai Island, like how I got what's it called, accustomed to yokais was I don't know if you played it before. It's a game called Pocky and Rocky. It's kind of like a shrine priestess and a tanuki or a raccoon that kind of like fights off yokai.
Yeah, I mean, so ideally, you know, we would eventually have something like an RPG. Um, and the sprite work that we're doing for the arcade game is a good start to that. But you know, for right now, we're focusing on the arcade game, getting that out the door, and then we'll you know start depending on how that goes, we'll start development on something like an RPG that is more reminiscent of the old Pokemon games.
Oh, okay, yeah. Nope. That'll definitely I think it's a good time to start all that as well. There seems to be like a revitalization of like what was popular in the 90s nowadays. Like so many things that like I remember in my childhood. It's like the kids today, they have like some kind of updated version of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, so I guess, okay, I guess for yokai, I guess it's still in the works because I guess there's also like SCP. Is that SCP actually going to be a main set or is it like kind of like a subset? So it's
It'll
going
be
to be
main set. Yeah.
okay. So native SCP, War, Seven Seas, and we get to yokai. Okay. And then after yokai, we'll be going into Grimm's Kingdom, right?
Hmm.
And then for Grimm's Kingdom, I'm actually a little bit of a what do you call it? I guess children's liter like I took a children's literature course in university and it really like opened my eyes to like the Grimm's brothers and like the actual fairy tales of I guess the non-Disney versions of fairy tales. So I guess
Right. Yeah. No, those endings are a bit different.
yeah, my two favorite. I don't know if it's a favorite or not though, considering it's like Little Mermaid and Goldilocks. Like they all have some pretty pretty I guess gruesome gruesome endings comparatively. And
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. Do you know if the Grimm's like the set idea is going to be more I guess towards that type of aesthetic, just like more like less bubbly type of aesthetic?
Um, I think we'll definitely stick true to the story a bit more, but you have to understand that like the iconic aspect of the story that Disney wrote is something that we'll probably lean on as well. But
Okay.
there's a way of telling the story without showing the gruesome parts necessarily. But where they're integral to the story, we'll definitely make an effort to show them.
Okay. And it might be a bit too early to, I guess, just in the planning phase of everything. But do you know if it's just going to be mostly like fairy tale stuff, or is there going to be like Greek and Norse mythology? I'd like some like Zeus and Odin's in the TCG
No,
and some
it'll
other.
mostly be fairy tale based. If we're gonna do something like um ancient mythology, that should probably be its own set, but even potentially its own block. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, right now, we'll put a pin in that. I think.
Okay, for sure. And then I guess like just the planning process of everything. So I guess you've already completed the first novel for Metazoo, which will be, I guess, released somewhat soon. I guess sometime this year, right? Uh,
Yep.
I guess do you have like all the ideas currently like in your brain and you just need to put it down to paper, or like do you think like it's a evolving story that like when the book comes out you'll see how the reception is from everyone, and then maybe like the storyline will change a bit from what you initially thought?
So I wrote the story Bible last year, and it's 300 pages of Cryptid Nation, those three books, right?
Mm,
And things change, but not significantly. And depending on the reception of the first book, I won't be changing major plot points, but there might be things that are expanded on or clarified in the story Bible that impact the second and third book. But for the most part, the story's finished. It's just a matter of translating it from the Bible to the actual
oh, okay.
books. Yeah.
Oh, the books, yeah, for sure. And I guess like the for comic book wise, any plans of like releasing, I guess the graphic, like would you consider like the chapter 1 to 6 that are out like graphic novels or comics, or what would you
Illustrated chapters.
illustrated chapters? Any additional plans for more of those? It seems like a lot of people really enjoyed them when they were coming out.
What I think would be cool is the for seven C's, if we do it in comic book form, I think that'd be neat.
Oh, you know what? That actually reminds me. If you do seven Seas and like for Yokai Island, maybe you can do like a new rarity called like a manga rare or something like that. And just the whole card in manga style.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Did you settle on a name for the next one? Is it Center Earth? Or I remember like one of the community members, Streaming Meeting, shout out to you, called Hollow Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'd be the transition set. So seven C's, Siberian, Trans-Siberian Railway,
Yeah.
and then Hollow Earth. Those would be the transition sets between the blocks.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, as far as the set aesthetics and stuff, it'll be very much what you would expect it to be, right? Dinosaurs and um, the type of things that you'd see in King Kong and Godzilla.
Oh,
Um, but focused on this layer of a world that exists beneath the Earth's surface.
okay. Cool, cool. So maybe you got some mole people and more lizard people coming out of the
Yeah,
woodwork.
maybe.
And for like each one of the blocks, let's say like Yokai Island, Grimm's Kingdom, do you think MetaZoo will, I guess, like focus more on those specific regions at that time? So let's say summer of next year, Yokai Island, will MetaZoo be like a bigger um, presence in like the Japanese conventions, and will I guess the artists be there more to, I guess, sign the cards and capture that general audience more?
I mean, it depends, right? It makes sense to do that in Japan, where Japanese culture values yokai and their place in Japanese, society and culture and
Yeah,
history. Um, I'm not sure if Austria really cares that much about Grimm's fairy tales, right? Like, however, and whether or not they view it something that's more Eurocentric like that as something that speaks to their culture.
okay,
And certainly, day to day, it's less significant than um, the role that yokai play culturally in Japan. But that being said, we'll use Japan as a litmus test while understanding those differences, and we'll see whether or not when we do something like Grimm's Kingdom, it behooves us to really, really focus on expanding in that area regionally. Now, I think in Cryptid World, where we, for instance, have a set that is based entirely on Australia's cryptids, right?
yeah,
Um, then of course it makes sense to market that heavily in Australia. They're gonna love it, right?
yeah.
Same thing if we do something that's based out of Brazil and it uses the candomblé, Brazilian folklore and mythology that is very closely tied to Brazilian culture.
Mhm.
So like it depends, right? The world is not a monolith, and so as we release these sets that are region specific, we have to kind of play it by ear and adjust where necessary
Oh, yeah,
in terms of our to market strategy.
mhm. Yeah, just to test the waters. That completely makes sense. And I guess just like even to see, like, as culturally, there are people that not people, but just like it's maybe like maybe more socially acceptable for certain things to be maybe displayed in cards or like referred to. But like North American culture is, I think, pretty open. But like let's say maybe Asian cultures, there may be more conservative regarding some matters, or maybe some mentioning some deities or some creatures and all that. Uh,
Right, right.
I guess that's also, I think it was like posted in the Discord a little bit, just saying that that is all like taken into consideration a bit, but there are always, you can't always satisfy everyone, right? So there's always going to be some people that have some qualms about anything that you do.
Yeah, I think that people have issue with us using, the Wendigo, right? Or we've had people who take issue at something that you believe to be more innocuous, like the Pukwudgie. And so, it's impossible not to offend anybody. Um, so, and if we were to look at the history of cryptids in general, it's usually kind of bloody, right? So, or they're associated with stories that um,
Like scary
are
stories and stuff.
violent, scary, bloody, tragic, but it's still part of our culture or these cultures, right?
Yeah.
And if we want to create a game about them, we have to go about it respectfully, but also, we have to make the game a legitimate reflection of the culture that we're paying homage to.
No, no, yeah, that makes sense because every time when I saw cryptids before, it was usually related to some like fear of the unknown type of situation, right? Like even like Bigfoot photos or like Loch Ness monster, they're all really blurry. No one really knows. UFOs, right? Like you get abducted, all that.
Mhm.
So maybe it's like the fear of the unknown that, and I guess a big part of actually our community, I think, actually does really enjoy um, that side of the that side of the cryptid mythology as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, for sure. That's always gonna be part of it,
yeah, definitely. And then I guess just so with Native coming out in what, April 14th? Oh, I guess that April 14th is the gala, right? So April 15th is the official release date.
14th, 15th, depending on when stores want to hold release events and all that good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You excited for the gala? Is it going to be, I guess it's the first annual Metazoo gala, right?
I'm excited for, any excuse to kind of dress up and hang out with the friends and the community members. I love going to these release events. They've become something special, right? But there's always nervousness associated with throwing something that big, and of course, we have the tower immediately afterwards, and logistically, it's hard to do these things. And again, it's kind of like it's almost like cooking your own meal. If you spend 2 hours cooking a meal and you sit down to eat it, you're going to notice all the details that didn't go right. And you know, it's going to be different than if you go to a restaurant, order some food, and 20 minutes later it shows up and you can kind of eat it without seeing the faults there. So, these events are fun, but they're immensely stressful.
Oh, I guess it's like you kind of like learn as you go, and also, and that's something that actually makes the events better later on, right? Because I remember Roswell, uh, I remember Seance. A lot of people were saying was better than Roswell, and I'm sure like the gala is going to be a lot better than Seance. So it's just a natural progression, I guess, of just learning from the mistakes and also what worked from the previous ones, and just carrying it over time.
I mean, sure, it's also a matter of saying, hey, the gala is going to be different than these other events, and that's okay. And it's going to be hard to compare it to throwing a Halloween party in Salem, a day before Halloween, right? And that's okay. So what we want to get better at is the general ability to throw these events and have fun. But at the end of the day, the goal is to have fun. And um, I understand the need to create some sort of metric, or the desire to create some sort of metric to say, hey, was Roswell worse than or better than Salem? And it's like at the end of the day, there's meant to be fun events. Not everything has to be measured or scrutinized in a way that, you know, um, sometimes I think takes the fun away from it. Um, if that makes sense, it's like it's a party. Enjoy yourself.
That's true. Yeah, like you
Like I don't
said.
want it's a little depressing to hear about people, saying like, well, the lights didn't quite flicker the way that I wanted to on the jack-o'-lanterns, and they said that they would
Yeah,
improve on that from the UFO balloons from Roswell. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I understand, but it's a party. Like, relax, have fun.
that's true. Live in the
Um,
moment, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So and this is a fairly unique thing in the TCG or even collectibles world. We're trying to do it, and we're trying to do it as well as we can, and we will do it so long as it's a positive force in the community. That's the plan.
It's linked with the Metazoo Foundation, right?
Yes.
The event. Okay. And I guess for Metazoo Foundation, is there? I guess this is the next event, and there's going to be more things to happen. I was a bit curious about. I know the fundraising for this event is going to the Hopi Education Endowment Fund. So,
Not entirely. So we have other parties and organizations and foundations that will be contributing to, but that's the first one that's been announced.
oh, perfect. Okay, all right. No, that's really good to hear. Yeah, because I was just like, oh, part of my question was, how were I guess how are you guys like focused on I guess selecting specific type of foundations to donate to? But I guess that answers the question. There's going to be a bigger lineup, and yeah, the more the merrier.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to help as many as we can.
After the gala, so Earth Tower, a lot of people are really excited for that. So the Earth Tower is going to be, I guess, just pretty much similar to the Water Tower then, with I guess just different venue, but pretty much the same setup. Will everyone be kind of like be expecting similar things, or is there going to be maybe like some type of surprise that you can let the people know that might be happening?
Um, I think there'll be more swag there, but the idea is um, improve where we need to improve, keep the things that have been successful, and more generally have fun and enjoy kind of the event for what it is. The in terms of surprises, I think um, if we can run it as smoothly as we did Water Tower and improve where uh, we may have been lacking at that tower, which I think it was a vast improvement in comparison to the Casters Cup in 2022. I'll be very, very happy, even if it's not as glamorous or thematic as we wanted it to be. We need to be focusing on throwing a really, really seamless and well organized event for the players.
Okay. Well, no, that's really good to hear. So with all the towers, they're going to be located in the US, but I think there's going to be like a colorless tower or something like that. That's
The
going to
moving
be
tower.
the moving tower, right? And I think that one was hinted to might be with the TCG client, if
Correct.
I'm correct. So I guess for international wise, would that I guess be more of like an international competition then? Is that even really planned for this year, or is that maybe just something maybe for next year because the TCG client's still being worked on?
Well, we intend on releasing the TCG client with War. So ideally, we'd have the moving tower sometime in the fall, where we, in one of those months where we don't have a tower lined up.
Is it going to be kind of connected to the MPN, so the Metazoo Plate Network scoring system, or I guess it'll be something completely different, right? Because online it's kind of difficult to see, I guess, attendance and points in the traditional sense.
It'll be connected. It'll just be an enhancement on top of the MPN as it currently exists.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that too, because it's Metazoo it is international, but I would say it's sometimes a little bit more difficult to find players locally sometimes. So really looking
Oh, for
forward to
sure.
like yeah, the code cards and um actually for the code cards, I guess is it like the only way to obtain packs inside the client with the code cards, or is it kind of be like more like a game where you can actually like, go through like the story mode and you can obtain points to buy MetaZoo packs inside the game?
Yeah, yeah. So there'll be more than just one way of getting the packs.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah. Then so sorry. I guess that went a little bit on a tangent. So
No,
going back
no.
to the the international aspect. So with Cryptid World, um, I guess see a lot of these questions were kind of like, oh, maybe like because like you said, you're focused on what's going on right now. There's like tons of things going on, and then so I guess what's going to happen later on is going to be just in the future. But do you know if it's going to be? My guess, Cryptid World is going to be some kind of like continent tournament. Any any comment about that? Is it going to be something like G Gundam where like every country kind of sends a few of their cryptids over for like an international battle?
I mean, that'd be cool. I don't want to. Um, that's a bit far off just for now, but I'll
Yeah.
definitely write that idea down.
Oh, awesome. and I really like that when you guys decided to name the different continents, so Yokai Island, Grimm's Kingdom, Cryptid Nation, that it's actually like if going with the storyline, like if the veil shattered, then all the spirits or cryptids from those respective continents would take over. Was that am I kind of close to why that was named the way it is?
Um, so I don't think it has to do necessarily with them taking over, but being relevant to that region is certainly why, or most relevant to that region is certainly why those names are associated with those regions.
Okay, cool. And uh, I I did a little bit of research digging in, and I don't know if you want to comment or not on it, but so I guess on your LinkedIn page, because I do know that like the Kickstarter cards, you said that they would be printed in, I guess, like a facility by Metazoo itself. I did come across the name Mothman Collectibles. That's pretty
Mhm.
recent, and it says like under the type, it says printing services. So is there is that something that you want to comment on or
More info on that to be revealed soon, I think.
okay, no, that's really good to know because I'm just like I was really curious to see that. I'm just like that would just make things I guess like so much more streamlined with MetaZoo and just what globally is going on right there
Oh, for sure.
with everything. Oh, yeah. Is there any international specific releases that you really looking forward to? Just
I think Yokai base set is going to be, foundational, just like Cryptonation was.
yeah.
Um, it's just going to be one of those things where it's going to be like a landmark set, right? It's our trend. It's like the next set, right? So, or the next block, and I think. For me, it'll be an emotional set because it'll be indicative of a new era that not a lot of TCGs go into, and but at that point we will have made it, and that's a pretty beautiful thing.
Yeah. No, no, no. It is really nice to see like your baby grow in a sense, right? And then
Exactly.
yeah. And then actually do the books also follow I guess chronologically, like the set releases?
Not the set releases per se, but the block releases. Yeah.
The block releases. Okay. All right. Yeah, looking forward to those books that are coming out and just like the development of the IPs. It's I'm actually since really early on, I was really looking forward to the Metazoo, I guess, animated series that's coming out. I believe you dropped a hint that it's going to be kind of like Castlevania style. Is
It'll be very similar to the style of our cards, actually.
really is
Yeah.
did some of like the artists themselves, like Pancho, Jet, and them get to work on the animation as well, or at least like put in some input so it more streamlines the artwork with Metazoo?
They are and have been creating concept art that then the animation studio is using to animate.
Oh, nice. And it so is it also what's it called? Are they called True Imagination or something? Or is that for the
Pure
animated
imagination.
Pure Imagination? Like are they a bit linked hand in hand, or is that just for the Metazoo shorts that are coming? I think like this summer, right, for New York Comic Con.
Yeah, the pure imagination will be involved pretty much with everything IP related that we do.
Oh wow, okay, wow. So even like perhaps the video games and everything too. Then okay, yeah. No, it's no, it was just really good to have a chance to talk to you and pick your brain about just I guess the further development of MetaZoo and also I guess your thoughts about what's coming up with like the international conventions and stuff like that. I guess we'll be more updated in the Discord, I guess, about all the things that are coming up. Is there anything, I guess, additional you want to just add toward the international discussion about how you see it going forward, how you want fans to maybe more get involved in it, or perhaps maybe more LGSs talking to the distributors or anything like that?
We are expanding international distribution. So if you are an international local game store, be sure to reach out to your distributor and let them know about your interest in MetaZoo, and hopefully they will start carrying us very soon.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, looking very forward to that and just the expanding. Can I say the MZU, the MetaZoo universe?
Sure,
I think,
sure.
yeah,
Hey, it fits, right?
I know exactly because you got MZOs, right? MZU is just the next progression towards that. Yeah. So thanks so much, Mike, for coming onto the channel. I had a really great discussion with you. Answered a lot of my questions, and some of the questions were actually from like the international community as well. So it's
Oh, great.
yeah, you're going on like an interview spree right now, right, Mike? Is that going
Yeah,
to?
yeah. Quite a few this month, but
Yeah.
it's fun. It's one of those things where I don't know if I did it all that often in 2022. I did a lot in 2021.
Yes.
So I think that, before set releases, it makes sense to kind of run through the gamut um and do as many of these as possible with content creators that have done a lot to support the community. So, for that I definitely thank you, and I look forward to thank you for having me on. I look forward to doing it before war.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah.
All
Definitely
right.
looking forward to that as well. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Mike. I know you're a busy guy.
Absolutely. All right. Enjoy the weekend and talk soon.
Thank you. Yeah. You as well.
Bye.
So, as always, please leave a comment down below if you're part of the international community, just what you think. Maybe give some of your insights towards, I guess, MetaZoo. And I also like to read your comments too, right? Please leave a like for the video. Please subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it.